Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Real Pod. I'm excited for today's episode because this might come as a little bit of a shocker. Maybe not, but I've definitely started to get some baby fever. Okay. I'll talk about it more in the episode, so stay tuned for that. But I'm thinking more about what it would mean to be a mom, to get pregnant, to have kids. And I thought, what better way than to explore this with my friend, Ally Kendricks. Ally Kendricks is a friend of mine who I've known in the business for about 4 years. She is a model, a content creator, a mental health advocate, which I've always admired her for and been inspired by. She's also the wife of Ally Kendricks, who is an NFL linebacker. And she's now a young, hot mom of 2 kids. Ally's 32 and her son, Knight, is 3 and her daughter, Max, is 1. And today she's going to be getting real about pregnancy, motherhood, postpartum, body image, parenting, posting your kids on social media, gentle parenting, all the things. We're really going to dive into it today. This is such a fun interview, whether you are a new mom, you're a mom who wants to reflect on the good old early days, or you're like me and you don't have kids, but you are really interested in what being a mom might do to your life. Before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to one of you lovely Real Pod listeners. This one goes out to Zoe. Zoe says, 5 stars, my favorite podcast. I've been listening to Real Pod for about a year now, and I just love the content. I loved the episode recently with Vic and Max. Them opening up about heartbreak and coping within a relationship really hit home for me since I've gone through something similar. I think listening to this podcast has made me a better person and partner. Vic, thank you for everything you do and for teaching us it's okay to be vulnerable. This is so sweet, Zoe. Thank you so much. I'm trying to think about, you must be referring to the episode I did with Max on men's mental health, because I think that's where we got into coping within a relationship and all that. So if you haven't listened to Max's episode on men's mental health, it's a really good one, especially if you're in a relationship. And Zoe is co-signing that. So thank you, Zoe. Without further ado, let's dive into this episode today with Ally Kendricks. Ally, welcome to Real Pod.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm happy to have you. I feel like this is such a long time coming.
I know. I can't believe we haven't done this yet.
I know. That's what I was thinking too. I'm like, oh, this is her second time. I'm like, wait, what? How has she never been on the show?
I know. This is so fun.
I'm so happy to have you because we haven't sat down and had a long chat since you've literally had 2 kids, which I get. I'm sure your whole life and your available time completely changes.
Oh, 100%. I feel like I was comparing it to, do you watch Avatar at all?
I feel like I'm familiar.
Okay, well, the main character is frozen and he's in water and time is just going on and he's just standing still, and I feel like that's me in motherhood. I'm just in this bubble and life's just going on and I'm like, wait, it's been 2 years since I've seen some people, and it's just crazy how quickly time goes when you become a mom.
I can only imagine, and I'm so glad you're here because I want to talk all about that.
Yeah.
I don't know what has come over me, but I do feel like I've recently caught baby fever. I think,
are you serious?
I'm serious.
I love this for you.
I haven't said it on online or anywhere, but this just feels so natural because you're a mom.
Yeah.
I literally just don't know what happened. Well, here's what happened. I was on my period, very emotional.
Yeah.
I already cried that day. And then I went to our friend's house and they told us they were pregnant and they pulled out the ultrasound.
Stop.
And then I also had this conversation with my mom, and she wasn't telling me to have a kid. We were talking about something else.
Yeah.
But I started to think oh, I want my parents to be around my kid. Something just clicked in me.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's you see babies everywhere. You smell them. You start, the ads are coming. And I'm like, wait, I'm not terrified.
No, that's honestly how I felt, because I wasn't someone that grew up dreaming of being a mom. I always knew I wanted a family, but I wasn't my dream is to become a mom. I know some people that's all they want in life, but there was a point before we started having kids where I was kind of I'm definitely ready for this. This doesn't scare me. But am I going to be a good mom? You go through all those feelings about it, but there definitely is a switch there where you start thinking about it more and having those conversations with your partner and being okay, how does that look for us? What are our roles? What's life going to look like once we start introducing kids? How many kids do we want? And then, it starts consuming you a bit. And then you're like, wait, okay, so are we going to do this?
Oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. You're I'm here. I completely relate to that because we've always we thought the baby videos are cute. We haven't been Max and I even, 2 months ago, like thinking this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like I suddenly had this like change of heart. And of course he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's like, you can't just go from one
Yeah.
week being like, this is years away, and then the next week being
Yeah.
like, impregnate me. And I'm like, why not?
Yeah, you're like, "Why not? Why can't I
Yeah.
do that?" But that's kind of how it works, though, and then I feel like once one person's on board, then the other one's like, "Okay, like, I think we could do this," and you guys
Yeah.
are married, and you've been together for
I
forever,
know.
you solid in your careers,
Yeah,
so,
and I feel grateful we've had like 3 years married without a kid because I do think married life is a little bit different. You
oh,
just
for
want
sure.
at least a few months to, adjust to that. But I'm curious how this worked with you and Eric because obviously he plays in the NFL
Yeah.
and you have to pay attention to the timing. If you're like having a baby in the fall, so that's where Max has kind of gotten away scot
Yeah.
free because it's now the fall, he's going to be gone. I don't
Mhm.
want to also deliver in the fall. So we're
Yeah.
kind of like, he's like, okay, pump the brakes. Let me just kind of process this and like have my last little like 8-month hurrah. And then maybe we can start trying in the summer.
It's so funny because, like, we were literally having that conversation too, and then it's like we got pregnant. So it's like we had all these plans of like what we were going to do, and then it just happened. First time around though, it worked out because I had a night in May, so it was off season, and I told everyone, I'm like, guys, don't have sex between these months because you cannot get pregnant during season. I watch people go through it and it's like their husbands are like flying across the country trying to make the labor in
And
time
they
and
might
like
not, right?
yeah,
Like if
and
they're
some
playing
people
in a
don't.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
cuz
cannot imagine giving birth and Max not being there. Like,
no way. But the second time around, we did get pregnant where Max was born in December. And that was really stressful because my water broke like the movies. That I feel like that never happens anymore. But I was watching Eric's Monday night football game and I was like bouncing on the ball. And then I was like, wait, I think my water broke. And I had to drive myself to the hospital because my mom had to stay at the house with my son. And then I called Eric and I go, you need to get on a plane like
yeah.
as soon as you can to get here because I'm gonna have this baby and I need you here. And he showed up, I think, 30 minutes before she arrived.
Wow.
Yeah, like that's how close we cut it.
Which is also like so thrilling and like this
It
exciting
was
way.
fun.
You know what I
It
mean?
was fun. I mean, he did say something like, wow, that was so much quicker than last time. And I was like, seriously? That was so much quicker than last time? You weren't even there for the majority of it. You
Right.
showed up for when she came out.
Literally, you just had to stand in the room.
I know.
What age were you when you had Night and then Max?
So I had Night at 29 and then I had Max at 30.
Okay, looking like my timeline.
Yeah,
Wait,
right?
29 to 30 is close.
Yeah, they're 19 months apart.
Were you planning that or you weren't expecting to get pregnant and then you did?
Girl, I was not planning that. I was not. I was 10 months postpartum. I literally put on a pair of jeans that like hadn't fit me for the first time ever. 10 months postpartum, I was starting to feel good again. And then I was like, wait, my period's late. And then I took a test and I go, yep, I'm pregnant again. And Eric was on a bachelor trip and he was just like, he was with one of his friends and his friend goes, he went pale when you said, not because he didn't want it. He just, it wasn't, we weren't expecting it. Like
Right.
we weren't planning to have a second that quickly. I was still pretty traumatized from my first pregnancy. So I was still kind of healing from that. And then, yeah, I couldn't fit it back in those jeans a week later that I just was so excited to
Oh
be
my
in.
gosh. And I want to talk to you about like body image and postpartum because
Yeah.
you've been so candid online. And I
Yeah.
think it is a huge thing for women because you are not the only inhabitor of your body. There's literally
Mhm.
someone else who's requiring nutrients
Yeah.
and things from your body. And it feels, I can imagine like it's being kind of taken over and then it's still being needed by this baby like
Yeah.
once they're here, and then once you start to feel like yourself again, you're like, do I want to have another kid? And it's just go
Yeah.
back into it.
I know, it's tough. I don't know. I don't know how to put this. I always like to call it like a healing journey postpartum versus like a bounce back because I feel like that's kind of a triggering word for
Yeah.
people. And I try to be as like gentle to myself as possible in postpartum, but it is really hard when, when life goes on and people like want you to come to dinner or like, go to weddings and stuff. And then you go in your closet and then you go through like this whole mental breakdown of, wait, I don't fit into this. I don't feel good in this.
Mhm.
And it's just, that's really, really hard because obviously you're so grateful to like have this beautiful new life into this world and you love being a mom, but that struggle of like, man, I just really want to feel good. Like I want to feel sexy again. I want to feel good in the clothes that I wear. So I think that's always been really hard for me as someone who's really active when I work out, but still at the end of the day, like you gain weight. It's just
Mhm.
inevitable no matter
Mhm.
like how healthy you are, if you work out, if you don't in pregnancy. And then, you still have to go through that process of like, okay, this is not the body that I once had. And, how do I love myself again in this new version of me?
Mhm. How do you think your relationship with your body has changed the most since being a mom?
I think that I'm just not as hard on myself as I was, especially as an athlete. I feel like, I don't know if you guys did this in college, but we knew our body fat and we knew all of that stuff. And like, I feel like you were focused on weight and all of those things and just being as fit as possible. And I look back at like the older versions of me where I maybe didn't feel as confident in my body. And I was like, wait, like, I was a lot smaller than I thought I was, or, I
Mhm.
was a lot more fit than I was. So now I don't focus on those things. I think what makes me feel good now is just like, I work out and it just makes my mental health feel better and I eat because I enjoy it. Like I just think I have a different relationship with eating, with working out, and it's really just because it makes me happy, not because of like the end product of like fitting in the smaller dress. And I don't really focus on, jean size anymore. I'm more like, wait, these are cute. And if I have to get 2 sizes up, that's not a big deal. So I think I've just shifted and been more okay with just whatever size I'm in, as long as I feel good. That doesn't really matter what the number is.
That's cool. It almost sounds like it's helped heal aspects of the strictness or like the
Mm-hmm.
old habits.
No, 100%. I mean, I look back at times where I was like afraid of carbs and all that stuff, and now I'm just like, no, I life's too short. I want to like enjoy food because I love it. I don't want to work out for 2 hours just like to hit a body weight. I don't do that anymore. I like want to work out for 45 minutes or 30 minutes and I'm happy with that and go on with my day. And I want to only do things that I enjoy doing because in motherhood, only have so much time for yourself.
Mhm.
So I just think that I'm a lot more intentional with that time. And I really just fill it with things that fill up my cup and make me feel good quick because then I show up as a better mom and a better wife when I go home.
Mhm. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Speaking of you being an athlete, I do think we have like so many things in common. And so that's why I'm
Yes.
like getting Allie's advice and like experiences, I would hope would be like a close like parallel to maybe how I'll approach things or how I'll feel. Did you like feel prepared for motherhood? Like when you came home with Night, were you like, oh my God, like now I forever have this responsibility? Because that's something that I think about, you will really never feel off
Yeah.
because you have this person that you're going to love so much and like feel really obviously be responsible for.
Yeah. Um, you know what? I mean, you're not fully prepared for everything, but I did feel like I was in a place in life where I was, I felt really good in my career. I felt really good in my relationship. And I feel like that kind of like laid the foundation for like me preparing for a shift into motherhood because I didn't feel like I was really missing out on anything because I really feel like I lived out my 20s and I
Mhm.
traveled and I had fun. And it's not like I've given up those things. It just looks a little different. So I definitely felt a lot more prepared than I actually thought I was. My mom says it all the time and she goes, I'm not really trying to insult you, but you're a really good mom. And I was like, I'm actually a good mom. Thanks, mom. Like I appreciate it. She goes, no, you just like have taken on this role like just so effortlessly. And I was like, I don't know, I just felt really ready for it. And it didn't scare me. And I know maybe that's not the case for everyone, but just, where we were at in life and all the conversations Eric and I had, because we had so many conversations of like what it looked like and stuff. So there weren't really any surprises in like, what our roles were and, if we were going to get help or not have help and all that kind of stuff. And like, we really talked it out. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, the more you talk it through with your partner in the beginning and just all the, different scenarios you can go through, I feel like the more prepared you are because then maybe you're not as shocked and like, if things come up.
And was that getting you both on board for like how you're going to help and wanting to make sure he's committed to do equal or yeah, what was
Yeah.
that like?
So I was very adamant about like my partner being 50-50 in parenthood with me. And I always say, like, just because like you might be like the breadwinner in the household doesn't mean that that's like the only thing that you provide. Like, I want you to be there just as much as I am as a parent, even if like I know like he has football and stuff, and obviously like there's, during season his time commitment looks a little bit different because he's busy. But when he's home, I was like, I really just want to make sure that like it's not just all on me. And that's not really who Eric is anyway. So I didn't expect that. But it's still good to just like talk it out and have expectations and what that looks like. And I also think that, we talked about if we were gonna have help or not, and what that looked like. Cause I know not everybody wants to have a nanny
Mhm.
or doesn't have family to help, because some people have their moms instead of that. So I was like, I really want to have help because I want to be able to go work when I can, or go work out and go do things for myself. Like, are you okay with that? Because not everybody is. So we talked through that and like what that looked like. And he wasn't necessarily on board with that at first because, he grew up in a single mom household, watched her, do it all and juggle all of these hats. And I said, but I'm not your mom. Like, so how can we come to a place where we see eye to eye on this? Because if you're going to hold me to the level that she was at, like I'm always going to fail because I'm not a single mom and I don't have to do that.
Mhm.
And I don't have to struggle to be a good mom. And so I think we just had to like really talk out our upbringings and like what that looked like and see each other's perspectives to kind of come to agreements on certain things like that.
Mhm. I relate to that in the sense of I love my career and I want to be my best self. And I also am someone who likes to do things my way and like I take
Mhm.
pride in it. And I think I could see a version of me being like, I don't want like to pay for outside help because I want to do it all myself to prove that I
Yeah.
can and like say that I raised my baby.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, if I have the opportunity to pay for it and make my life easier, recover faster, like
Mhm.
keep pursuing my passions, like why would I not? Right? It's like
Yeah.
rooted in this ego
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and similarly, I feel like you have that mindset. Like you've
Yeah.
been a go-getter, you've been a leader your
Yeah.
whole life. So, do you have any mom guilt people talk about or
Yeah.
when you have other people watching your kids?
I don't, because I feel like I'm very, very present with my kids when I am with them, which is a lot of the time. Just because, we have an extra set of hands doesn't mean I'm like, okay, like I'm off for the day. Like, I don't have to do anything. Cause like at the end of the day, I'm still their mom. And there's times where I'm the only person that they want, or their dad is the only person that they want. I don't feel that bad because I don't really understand why people see a difference in like their parent living with them full time or having like a nanny, because not everybody has the privilege of having family and support in that way. And some people have to search for that.
Hmm.
And I guess the only difference is that you're paying someone to do that. So I know it's a sensitive subject, and I know people like to make people feel bad for like hiring help, but I mean, I watch people still be the absolute best parents to their kid, and it and if you have the ability to afford that help to give you that time for yourself to like go work out, or just go on a date night
Yeah.
and do stuff, for us, it's like great for our marriage. We go on a date night once a week and have that quality time just for us. And I don't think we would be able to do that if we didn't have help. I'm able to go work out and, make myself feel good and heal in the ways that I need to heal postpartum. So I try not to feel any guilt, because as a mom, you already have so much guilt with certain things. Like if your kids get sick, or I felt so much guilt with my daughter when she had her birth defect that we found out about when I was 13 weeks pregnant. And I went through that whole spiral of like, what could I have done differently? Did I eat something wrong? Like, did I drink when I didn't know that I was pregnant yet? Like, did that affect it? Like, I feel like you already have so much guilt as a parent. So I
Hmm.
just try to feel really confident in the decisions that we make and what works for our family. And, we love our nanny that we have, and she's family to us. And I just couldn't imagine her not being in our kids' lives. And I just feel like we're all better as a team and having her be a part of it.
I love that. It reminds me of when Alona Mar did that interview and they were like, "Do you have imposter syndrome?" And she was like, "No, what is that?" And I feel like this
I
is
know,
me. I'm
she
like,
was so
I
confident
know.
with
I'm like,
that.
do you ever feel mom guilt? You're like, no, F that. I'm
Yeah.
confident in my choices. I love that. And I think it
Yeah.
helps show people that it's also normal to not feel any shred of guilt and be like, this is the way that it works for us. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so I think that's really refreshing. Speaking of Max's birth defect, I know you went through a lot. Eric lost his father,
Mhm.
you lost your dog, and then with the pregnancy with Max had complications. how did you navigate all of that? Talk
Yeah.
openly about your mental health often. So I know that you hit some low points, and what
Yeah.
was it like going through that?
Man, a lot of therapy to help me navigate that because not only did we that was our second dog that we lost really traumatically. And I, of course, was home alone both times. So I was already navigating like going through that and the guilt of like being the person that was taking care of our dogs and losing them both to heart conditions and, carrying them to the vet to then trying to be a support system for Eric. We lost our dog and then his dad to heart attacks essentially. And so going through that was really, really tough. And I was only a few months postpartum. So I was also dealing with that too.
So you were a few months postpartum when Eric loses his father
Hmm.
and you lose your dog.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like really heavy.
No, it was super heavy, but Eric will say this too. It was also some of the best months of our life, even though they were the worst, because we also had this new life and like this new purpose. And we had our son, and our son obviously had no idea what's going on. And he's smiling and like learning new things and like saying dad for the first time and mom. So it's, we were going through this this roller coaster of emotions where we're crying from all this loss, but then we're crying of happiness because we have this beautiful son that, is just so innocent and doesn't know loss, and he doesn't know anger yet, and he doesn't know all these things that and eventually in life he'll figure out and he'll experience himself. But he really kept us going during that period of time, and he brought so much joy into our household. And I don't think that Eric would have gotten through that loss of his dad so suddenly and unexpectedly if it wasn't for our son and for the support system that we had outside of that as well. But he really was our purpose. And I feel like that's the thing about kids is they just bring so much joy,
Mhm.
even if there's so much chaos going on in your life, like because you just learn to appreciate the really small things all over again. And they just get happy from you know, seeing a bubble, or like they get
Mhm.
happy
They're
because
so
like you just walk into the
yeah.
room and you feel like the coolest person ever because this little life thinks like the world of you. So that really did help me during that time. And I feel like obviously a lot of therapy and letting it out in that aspect because, when Eric's in season, I'm not trying to dump on him. I want to build him up and like pour into him. So finding time for myself to like let it out and not being crying in front of my son or crying in front of Eric, it was tough because I felt like that was kind of the one place where I could like really be open about how
Mhm.
I'm feeling because I just wanted to make sure everybody else was okay and doing
Yeah.
well.
I mean, that's so hard, right? And I think this is relatable for anyone out there in a relationship is like one person can be struggling with something, you can also be struggling, and
Mhm.
you're also supposed to be the support system. And then in
Yeah.
your head, you're like maybe thinking, oh, I shouldn't be sad because they need to be sad and hold the
Yeah.
space. So,
Yeah.
yeah, what kind of conversations were you guys having to, you show up for him, but also feel seen in your postpartum journey?
Yeah. You know what? And this is probably my own fault, but I feel like I put a lot of myself on the back burner during that time because I just really wanted to be there, like, and be the best mom for Night and then also be a strong support system to Eric. And so I feel like a lot of like the real raw conversations I had were in therapy because it's just, during season, it's just like it's already so stressful and they're already putting themselves through so much. So I feel like I don't want to pour too much on him because I felt the stress of him already dealing with his dad and then showing up for a team, like a new team, new, like he's learning new plays, like because we had been in Minnesota for 8 years, so that was his you know first time like in a new environment. There was a lot of change going on in our lives. So the conversations we did have were more just like talking about the positive memories of his dad and really just trying to like celebrate that. And
Did he get to meet Night?
yeah, he did get
Oh,
to meet Night.
that's so
So
special.
yeah, he got to meet Night and our dog. Like before, like I mean, he had spent time with our dog, but we had only had Blue for like a year,
Hmm.
so it was very short period of time.
And then once you navigate all of that, you're pregnant with Max and find out she has a
Hmm.
birth defect, which
Yes.
I remember following along seemed really stressful, just
Yeah.
really not knowing what was going on. Like you said, maybe blaming yourself. So when she was born and now, how is she doing? And now that you're on the other side of that, I mean, what would your advice be to moms who are scared during pregnancy of
Yeah.
something that's abnormal with their child?
Yeah. So when we found out that she had gastroschisis at 13 weeks, I immediately spiraled and was like, what did I do wrong? Like, blame on me. Like, how did this happen? And I would just say to moms, obviously easier said than done, like if that does happen to them, like we didn't do anything wrong. Like I'm learning that now as I'm looking back on it. I felt like I was too hard on myself in a moment where I could have just let everyone really support me, and I just felt like I was like pushing everyone out. But that whole process, I think the best thing that I did for myself was just continue on as if like I don't know if it was like ignorance is bliss, but I tried not to feed too much into like Google
And just trust your
and just
doctors.
trust my doctors and what they were saying. And they were telling me all the positive things. Like, if there's anything to have, this is the thing to have. You know, we have an amazing team at UCLA. There's a 90% survival rate. Like, and then once she gets through this, she'll go on to live a normal life. So I think I just went through it being like, okay, she's gonna be okay. I know in my heart that she's gonna be fine. And no matter how many times they ask me if I want to go through with this pregnancy, I know in my heart she'll be
They
fine.
were asking you that?
Mm-hmm.
That's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say it's a crazy question because I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor, but that does sound like it's really putting the mom in a spot of, should I not want to?
Yeah. I was almost halfway through being the pregnancy at that point, and they're still asking me those questions like, you know, you don't have to do this. Like, you know, there are other options. And which is so crazy experiencing a pregnancy where they don't ask you that one time, like, because, you know, Night was healthy by, you know, medical
Hmm.
standards. But yeah, they asked me that multiple times, like, you know, you sure you want to do this? So then you kind of like, I remember turning to Eric and being like, do we want to do this? And he goes, yeah, we do. And I was like, okay, great. Yeah, we do. Because like, you know, you do doubt yourself a little bit sometimes when the doctors are asking you questions like that.
Right.
But yeah, that was definitely a really, really hard thing.
This is when you didn't even know if Eric would be at delivery, which is like
Yeah.
so stressful.
Yeah.
And is she doing well now?
Yeah, she's
Yay.
doing really well. She's doing all the things that the doctors at first weren't sure that she was going to be able to do, because her case was very, very severe. And I just remember them being like, hey, you might be able to go home with her at some point, but she probably is going to be hooked up to like IV nutrition, TPN long term. Like, she might not be able to eat on her own. And, you know, this girl has literally kicked every single like doubt's ass. Like, she's incredible. She learned to eat within 10 days. Everything that they weren't sure she was going to do, she's been doing, and plus some. Like, you know, being in the NICU, they're like, your baby might be delayed on a lot of things. She's been on track for everything. She's been gaining weight. So I'm just really grateful, and I'm glad that I like stuck to my guns of being like, no, she's gonna be okay, and
Yeah.
going through with the pregnancy, because obviously there were doubts at times of like, with doctors, you know, giving me mixed information about things.
With
So
you and Eric as parents, two elite level athletes, I feel like she's going to be destined for greatness, and this is her just proving it.
No, I mean, she's unbelievable. I mean, every day I'm like, this girl's something else, and
Yeah,
she's
this
gonna
one's
get
mine. Yeah.
yeah, she's mine. She's gonna get people a run for their money.
A lot of moms talk about getting their pink back.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've gotten your pink back?
Slowly but surely. I feel like the going into my closet now and being able to like put things on and like feel really good in them, like that was like the first moment I'm like, all right, I'm starting to feel really good again. I feel like when I'm working out, I feel really good and strong, because, you know, especially after the second baby, I was like, whew, like this postpartum recovery is like rough, and I'm a very active person, and I'm still going through it. So
Mhm.
like once you start being able to kind of like move again and not have any like pelvic floor stuff, like those are like little things where I'm like, yeah, I'm starting to feel like I'm getting my groove back, and I want to go out to dinner, and I want to like leave the house more and do
Yeah.
stuff.
No, honestly, if I just like met you today at the grocery store and you told me you had two kids, I would literally be shocked.
Stop.
Because you like look so young. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we're the same, and I'm like, wait, but she has 2 children.
No, it's actually really crazy to think about. I say that all the time. I'm like, how the heck do I have 2 kids? Because I still have moments where I'm like, kind of want to go to Miami and like go out and like just be out until 4 in the morning and have no responsibilities. And like I still have that like energy in me. Even, and I
Yeah.
actually feel like once I've started having kids, I started wanting to do those things more. I feel like some people are kind of like, yeah, when you have kids, like you do your traveling now because you won't travel as much, like do this now. And I'm like, no, like you can still make time for those things. Like you can
Right.
still have fun. Like Eric and I, we went to Japan in June, and that was our first like really big trip since having kids, like as far as like going that far away. And you know, we do date nights and we still go out with our friends and like have drinks and stuff. I feel like your life doesn't have to end. If anything, you appreciate it more. Maybe don't do it as often,
Mm-hmm.
but like you appreciate it a lot
And do you
more.
get scared being away from them? I feel like I get anxious thinking about it, and I don't even
Yeah.
have kids yet, or like intrusive thoughts, or like needing to know. I mean, you go from having probably an owlet sock on them and like a baby monitor to then being like, I don't really know what they did all day because they're with their grandparents and they're just
Yeah.
telling us, you know?
I mean, I'm a little psycho with like a schedule and stuff with my kids. And I know that like that's not everyone's cup of tea, but for me, we're a schedule household. So I feel like I always know what they're doing, even if I'm not at the house. So I feel like because I have them on a schedule, it gives me a lot more peace of mind when I leave them with my mom, Eric's mom, like our nanny, whoever, because I always just know what they're doing. So
Mm-hmm.
it didn't really stress me out. People always told me that they cried when they left their kids for the first time, and maybe I'm a terrible parent, but I remember night, it was like my 30th birthday, and I was determined to leave. I think it was only like 2 months postpartum, and I was like, no, I got to do this for myself because I do have friends that took them 3 years to leave their kids because they just got so comfortable not leaving. And I go, I don't want to do that. I just want to rip the band-aid off now. And I remember like landing in Cabo, and I was like so happy, so ready to like enjoy the trip. And I turned to Eric and I'm like, does this make me a bad parent because I haven't cried once since we left?
Yeah.
He goes, no, we just like really trust the people that we're leaving our
Yeah.
child with, and we just needed this time. And I'm like, okay, like yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's bad to say
No,
that
I am
out loud, but
obsessed.
like
Maybe I'll be the same. Like, why am I
yeah.
like predicting all this doom?
Yeah.
Um,
No,
yeah,
don't.
no, it'll be
Don't.
good. It'll be good. You do not post your kids on social media.
Yes.
Was that you knew right away? Did you and Eric have chats about it? And then tell us why that's important to you.
So I actually posted Night a lot when he was first born, and I didn't cover his face. And then I remember talking with Eric and being like, I don't know if this is the smartest idea for us to do this. And he didn't really understand it at first. He was like, well, why? And I go, I don't know. I just think like with where social media has headed, as far as like people sharing their kids, profiting off their kids, but also the way that people get attached to people's kids that they don't know, like even in the comments, like the things that people write about the kids, like their appearances aren't off limits, or like their behavior, or they're like, oh, okay, they're a bad kid or this, or like they just start labeling them. And I go, I just can't imagine subjecting my child to a bunch of like randoms on the internet who have opinions and they're not always nice. And I understand that, you know, you're not always going to have nice people that nice experiences in life, but like you're a child and you're so innocent. And I just started feeling kind of uncomfortable with like how people were talking about my kid and like making the comments that they did. And I go, I feel like I need to do a better job of protecting him and allowing him to share himself when he's of age that like we think is appropriate for him to
Mm-hmm.
share himself, if he even wants social media. I just feel like it's his story to tell, and it's even though I love him and I feel like I wouldn't try to share him in a way that is like dangerous or whatever. I don't know. I was just saying to Eric ago, I just feel wrong about sharing him, and I just wanted him to tell his own story when he was ready to. And who is the celebrity? Who's the celebrity that's always at like the Texas football games? I don't know why I'm blanking on him. He's in
Matthew McConaughey?
yes.
What? Did you just blink on Matthew
I don't
McConaughey?
know. I don't know.
All right, all right, all right.
Yeah. Anyways, his son, I feel like he just got social media. I don't. Did you see that whole thing? Like when he
No.
shared himself for the first time? But
No.
he's like 15 or 16 and he's so cool, so sure of himself, like
Yeah.
of his interests and who he is. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, no one knew anything about this kid
Right. I
until
can't
he
even
was
tell
up.
you his name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't even know his name. And I just thought that that was really cool. So that kind of inspired me. And then also, not to get like really dark, but I just feel like with AI and all of that as well,
Yeah.
there's a whole other side of it too, that
Definitely.
people are using kids' images in a way that's like not appropriate. But
No,
there
it's
is a
true.
whole world out there
Yeah,
of like
it's wild. I see it. I mean, I
yeah.
totally respect that. And like, I think we're gonna be the same. I think to me, the biggest thing is if it were me and I became like conscious at 14 of
Yeah.
like my life and surroundings, and there were videos online of me eating a chocolate cake, falling over, I don't know, breastfeeding. Like, I
Yeah.
would just feel like it's a digital footprint that I didn't consent to,
Yeah.
and I might not want it. And I think it's one thing if you're like sending obviously videos to your family or you're like not a social media like
Yeah.
influencer, but I do think for me it's more so like as much as I'll feel so proud and I want to show everyone how cute you are and like all these
Yeah.
things, I think it's your autonomy that needs to be what's prioritized.
For sure.
There's some celebrities who will like post their kids every once in a while on like a Christmas vacation or something. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be like, you'll never see their face, but I
Yeah.
definitely don't predict it to be a common weekly, monthly thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I don't judge anyone who does share their kids. Like, that's your choice. And I think, like, there's enough judgment going around as parents. Like, we're always just doing our absolute best. But, like, for me and, like, what I'm comfortable with, I just think that there's so much beauty in like keeping things private. So I think I've just learned that to protect my peace, like I just want to protect things as much as possible, especially if I'm not in a mental space to be able to
Hmm.
handle it. And my kids are something that I don't mess around about. And so I think just not sharing them and just keeping them to ourselves and the people that know them gives me so much peace. But yeah, it wasn't a choice that we were sure about right away because we definitely did share him. But
Yeah.
then we just decided that, you know, we were going to pull back on that and just protect him in that way.
Speaking of social media, where are you at with screen time and TVs? I feel like kids and screen time is something we're going to hear studies about
Oh, yeah.
in the next decade of how it's affecting their brain and their attention span and their social abilities.
Hmm.
And it's sad because the kids like don't have the discipline or the
Yeah.
mental like ability or awareness to know like what's good for them and what's not.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are kids being raised and it's like once again maybe the parents are working multiple jobs, they don't have help like,
Yeah.
and it's their peace of mind to give the kid the iPad or something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think a kid can become addicted
Oh, for
to
sure.
the iPad, the TV, the phone, and
Hmm.
then actually it changes the trajectory of their life in a negative way.
We're not like a no screens household. I mean, our
Right.
kids don't have like their own individual iPads or anything. And we stopped doing the whole like screen at dinner, like if we were out, because we were just like, no, we need to like work through these growing pains of if our kids aren't on their like best behavior when we're out in public,
Mhm.
like we need them to figure out how to exist in a space without needing a screen. So we're trying to find the balance of like, yeah, like let's put on a Disney movie and watch a movie as a family, but also like how can our kids like use their imaginations and like spend time outside and all that without needing to like
Mhm.
come back to a screen. So it's like forever this like this, you know, this seesaw of like, okay, like where are
Right.
we trying to be with it? But I will say, I think that for us, it's kind of unrealistic to like do no screen time because there are times where it's like if I'm home alone and I'm trying to make dinner and the kids are all over the
Yeah.
place, sometimes I just need them in one place. And I do have friends that do that. They're like, hey, like I'm just going to put on the TV for 30
Yeah.
minutes so I can just finish up dinner. So I don't judge with that. But we very much try to set our kids up where they can go to their play space and like just be independent and learn how to play because it's pretty beautiful to watch like
Mhm.
them use their imaginations and like play by themselves, like use their trains, all of that. And like there's this whole world that I feel like when I was a kid I had imaginary friends and I like went outside and played and built forts and all of that, and I just don't want that to get lost, which I feel like it can if you just constantly throw a screen at them.
Definitely.
So we're always just trying to find a balance. But I'm very intentional about what my son watches, because my daughter doesn't really watch TV. She's too young. But I pick shows that are very slow and don't have a lot going on.
I
And
love
like,
that. Yeah.
you know, Trash Truck is probably like one of our top ones. Eric and I sit there and we're like, this is the most boring show ever. But like, my son loves it. Lately, I've actually been downloading all the stuff we grew up on, like Franklin, Arthur,
Cute.
Clifford the Big Red Dog, like, because when you watch those, like, they're really chill, like the
Yeah.
colors aren't super overwhelming, and there's always like some sort of lesson in the show, which I really like. So if my son is gonna watch TV, I do want him to like learn something.
Yeah, it's cute, the lesson, like, and that's why we share.
Yeah, like,
Bye.
yeah. I will say that there was a time where I think there was a week where we let our son watch a show like every single day, and I did notice a difference in his behavior, and I did notice him like not reaching for his toys to just go play or wanting to go outside, him just wanting to watch the TV. So we realized that like we kind of just have to make it very random when we let him watch it, so then he's not like walking out and being like, TV, like I want to watch
Right.
that, like I don't want to go play with my toy, because they do get addicted.
Definitely. I have addiction issues with my
Yeah.
phone as an adult who
Yeah.
like didn't grow up on technology.
Yeah.
And for sure our kids will have screen time.
Yeah.
Definitely. We were on a trip this past weekend and we were with a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, and every single dinner they only had like the kids menu and the crayons and like maybe a game or two
Yeah.
the parents brought. And for a 2-hour dinner, this 2-year-old just entertained himself with this
Yeah.
coloring thing. And it was crazy. And we were even
Yeah.
like, this is insane. Like, how is your kid
No,
able
it's
to do this?
practice.
And they were like, we never give them screens at dinner. So he's
Yeah.
had to learn, we're going to sit here, we're going to eat, you've got to entertain yourself.
Yep.
But you're right. They're going to scream in a restaurant. It's going to be embarrassing. It's going
Yeah.
to be difficult. You're not going to enjoy the dinner, but then you're like training them to get to the point.
No, and I think that's the thing about parenthood, is that like kids know when to push boundaries and all that. And sometimes obviously like there's a easier, like in that moment it feels easier to just hand them the phone. But
Mhm.
Eric and I just said we need to like stop being embarrassed if like they maybe aren't acting perfect in public, and just be like, no, like this is a child who doesn't know how to regulate their emotions properly at this age, and how do we help them work through it and give them the skills that they need, so then when we go to the next dinner and we say, hey, like this is what you have to work with, like we're sitting here and we're eating, they don't have like a full meltdown because they're not getting a phone to
Right.
just like, you know, smooth it over, so then Eric and I can enjoy it. And sometimes I look at him and I'm like, can I just give him the phone? And he's like, no, we got to stay strong. Like, we got to stay strong, because we both go through those moments. So
Yeah.
we do that for each other. So then, you know, the next dinner when he's sitting there and he's actually like playing with his cars at the table and he's not expecting that, we're like, yes, it's like a parent win right there.
I love that. Would you say you're a gentle parenter? Like, where are you on that spectrum?
No, we're
Strict.
not. We're not strict. Like we're definitely not gentle. I mean, I know that people are now kind of like, oh, I don't want to be a gentle parent type of thing.
Well,
like,
because I think that went too far.
it
Like,
went too far.
There
for
was
sure,
a time
for
where
sure.
people literally thought gentle parenting meant like let your kid throw a huge tantrum, like flip things
Walk
over
all
in the
over
grocery
you.
store, like be rude to adults. I do think there's like, yes, let's have them understand their emotions, how to breathe, how to calm themselves down,
Yeah.
and they need to make eye contact and say thank
Yeah.
you, and you know.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's moments to like have the conversation with your kid and like try to talk it out, and there's times where I know that I have to be a lot more stern, and like we do timeouts, not long ones, but we do put him on timeout sometimes, or you know, we put him in his room and we're like, okay, we need you to have like a reset right now. So you know, the emotions of a toddler are forever changing,
Right.
and it's a little terrifying sometimes. I'm like, whoa, like you just went through 5 different emotions in the last 2 minutes, and this is a lot. But I feel like they feed off a lot on like us and like what our energy is too. Co-regulation, like just sitting there and like hugging them and breathing, like I do try to do those things too, but then there's sometimes where I'm like, all right, like we gotta discipline here, like we gotta find the balance. So I wouldn't say we're gentle parenting, but we do try to pick and choose our moments where we see an opportunity to like maybe be a little bit more gentle in the approach, and then opportunities where we know that, okay, Eric I might have to yell and like get him to listen, because he's acting a little fool right now.
See, this is how I know I like have baby fever. I'm just so excited to like have these problems.
You say that now, and then you're gonna be calling me like, "What do I do?"
No,
No, I'm
literally.
just kidding.
It's like,
It's
yeah, it's
eh,
weird because, you go from being like, oh, I'm so glad we're leaving that vacation and like we don't have kids to bring home to then
yeah.
like, me want my own.
I know. I know. It's a fine balance. And then like even as a parent, you're like there's some days where you're like, what did I get myself into? And then there's some days where you're like, I'm the best parent ever. My
Yeah.
kids are the best behaved
It's
kids.
gotten scary on TikTok. A lot of moms being very candid, which is scary for me to
Yeah.
see people like literally make videos and being like, look, I'm never going to say I regret having kids, but basically I do. And then it's got like a million likes and all the comments are like, no, seriously, like I missed my life before. Thank you for saying it. And I'm like, oh my God, it's
Oh
like very
no.
scary. I'm trying to like get back onto the side of like motherhood is my life.
Motherhood's the best. I mean, I definitely think that it's good to like hear the realities of, pregnancy or motherhood because, like, for me, I didn't really know anybody who had pregnancies like what I experienced, which were like, I had hypermesis with both of them, HG, and which is honestly morning sickness times 1,000. Can't get out of bed, like, ended up in the hospital from vomiting blood, like,
Oh my
I
gosh.
type of pregnancy, but I was not prepared for that. But I don't know if like seeing stuff like that would have made it any easier. So it's like a fine balance of like, do I really need to consume all the bad stuff? Because that could not even apply to me because my kid's, personality could be different than that kid. Like
Right.
every kid is so different and like you're going to find like your formula and like your recipe for success in your household based off of like what works for your kids. So I feel like that's why I try not to take in too much on social media because sometimes people do something a certain way and I'm like, yeah, I don't think my kid would respond well to that. So I feel like,
Mhm.
comparison really is the thief of joy in all aspects of life and that's parenthood. So I wouldn't go too deep into the
Yeah.
the negative TikTok over there.
But
Yeah.
sometimes you can be on such a negative side, it like very much scares you away. But now that I feel like it's like clicked for me and I'm feeling confident and I
Yeah.
want a mini human, that's me and my partner,
Yeah.
you're just like, you know what? You're gonna navigate it on your own and you
Yeah.
never really know what someone else's story is.
No, for sure. And I think like the best thing for us is that like we really like if we saw parents who we thought were like really cool and we loved how they did stuff, like those were the people that we like became friends with and like wanted to learn from them and like what they did. I appreciate all perspectives of like how you approach motherhood, but there's definitely friends that I feel like I'm more into like how they do things. So those are the
Definitely.
people that I talk to and I pick their brain and I'm like, how did you do this? Or like, how would you handle this situation? Really focus on the people where you're like, wait, the way you approach being a parent is
Mhm.
cool as hell. Cause we had friends that like they go on like a 2 week vacation, just the two of them, somewhere new in the world every single year. And I'm like, wait, like you still travel like that? And like they go, yeah, like we've made it a priority to do this. Like maybe we didn't do it in the very beginning, but now we do. And we love it. And, our kids are on a schedule. And like,
Yeah.
so they were the ones where I was like, okay, noted. I want to do a
We're going to
schedule.
Cabo.
I want to sleep train. I
Yeah.
want to do all the things that people are like, oh, like,
Right. Max's brother does that, and the kids spend 1 week with the one grandparents and
yeah,
1 week with the other, and it's
yeah,
sweet for the kids. So definitely. Well, thank you for all this good insight, this
yeah,
info.
got you.
Very much helpful. I hope it was helpful for everyone else listening
I
too. And
know.
just been so cool to like see you, yeah, like go through these changes. And I feel like I've seen it just because I follow your social media.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like speaking of inspiring, like even just seeing you sit here today and feel like you're the Ally that I like talked to, or we went to a workout class like 4 years ago. And it's like, okay, she's the same and she
Yeah.
has kids. And like motherhood is an addition to your life and
It is.
something so special, but not something to be feared if it's what you want.
Yeah, I wouldn't be scared of it at all. And it's all about like who your partner is too and like
Definitely.
how that dynamic is. And I know that you have a really great partner and I see how your guys' dynamic is. So I feel like you guys are gonna attack parenthood like
Oh, thanks.
head
I'll
on
play
and
this
like
to
do it
Max
really
to
well.
keep buttering
Yeah,
him up.
I'm gonna be like, Max, you got this. Like you're gonna be the best dad. Vic's ready. So like let's hop on board.
I love
And
that.
you have some time to prepare too because she's pregnant for a period of time, so it doesn't really
That's what I
affect
told him too. I'm like, it's not like when we decide we want to try to get pregnant, the baby's here next week. I'm like, you will
Yeah.
still have like
Like
9 months to adjust.
yeah, like those 9 months you want, she'll just be pregnant. The
Yeah.
only thing is that you just have to deal with her
I
hormones.
know. Oh my God, so true. Which he already has mastered.
I know.
Well, thank you so
Of
much.
course. Thanks for having
Of
me.
course. Yeah.